stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life, there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home. Cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing. I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I.
Oh, good morning. This is 1100 WSG. I'm Neutral LaVern, and this is One Street Over. Talking to my director of schools, Dr. Danny Weeks. We're just, talking about the school year and I thought, I guess I need to turn the microphones on and have a conversation with everybody. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Getting ready. We're in that last couple of weeks before school starts,
Wow.
and I'm not one to be counting down the big events, but I think today is 15 days before school starts,
so.
and so
Yeah.
our staff is back in the office for the most part.
Right.
Principals will be coming back in building soon, and doors will be opening.
I've got to get in my room. I've got to get in my room and get some things done because I don't want to say I left a mess, but I left a clutter because we were so busy. And I was telling you, we were gone for 2 weeks on a mission trip. And so we've been the minute school dismissed, we were hustling, trying to get all our ducks in a row to be gone for 2 weeks. Being gone from your home for 2 weeks is a long time. I would recommend that's a little bit too, it was wonderful, but it was a lot. So now that we're back, we're hustling going, okay, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. And of course we have 5 grandkids and 2 on the way. Wow. So we'll have 7 grandkids by December. Isn't that crazy? By Christmas. It's fun. It's such a blessing. And we got all of our kids, and I'm tracking down my kids that have just graduated and checking on them a little bit. There's a couple that particularly are on my radar, and I've been communicating with them. What are you doing? Making sure they're getting it done, because you want them to get that Tennessee Promise money and not fall short on that.
Right.
Did you turn in your hours? It's like, come on, it's adult time, guys. Let's go. But I love it. And super excited about the year. Just super excited about the year. And it's so funny. My nephew up in West Kentucky, he's actually going to be in McCracken County, was just hired as an assistant principal. Right. And so he's already back at work. He had his suit on. I'm so excited for him. I'd love to have him in this district. He's no joke. He is so good. But he's, we're all from around Mayfield, but he's working for McCracken County, but we're super excited about that. But he was back at it. And I'm like, yes. And I say that to say, administration, they don't get summers off, y'all. They don't get summers off. I
Right.
remind people of that. And they get some time off.
Sure.
And that's one thing I was saying is we were anticipating you coming in today. I said, I don't know what because I just got back. I didn't really know what your schedule was. And I thought, you might have a vacation plan before school starts, but it's a little close to school starts.
Right.
To be taken off,
A
right?
little too close for that. And, I've just kind of gotten used to traveling during spring break and fall break. And that's just enjoy that a lot more. So summer is really put your nose down and get busy and, making plans. We had our first staff meeting yesterday morning in central office. And, the question I ask everybody is, are we ready?
Yeah.
And we talked about the two parts of being ready because, we've been on break and things have been more casual. And so, there is a mental preparation to getting ready to go back. Some folks have had an extended time off. We had a lot of folks that taught summer school and didn't have much time at all off. So, we have to mentally prepare to get ready to new group of kids, new lessons, new standards, new laws and things that have been passed by the state. So we have a lot of things that we have to be ready for mentally, but there's also just what you talked about, being in your rooms and getting things straightened up and getting textbooks back out and getting textbooks ready and just all the things that need to be done. And we talked to our staff yesterday about, have we finished all the maintenance projects we started? We do a lot of maintenance over the summer where students and staff aren't in buildings, and we can do those things. The cleaning crews get in and do some deep cleaning that they don't do during the school year. And so just, people like that, making sure they're ready, talking to HR, making sure we have plenty of teachers and plenty of staff. And we can go ahead and plug that. We don't. We still need staff, and we still are looking for several positions right now. And so, I would encourage people to get on the website if they have an interest in teaching. I know we talk about that just about every time we meet, but if you have a college degree and are looking for something to do, even if it's part-time, even if it's just, if you've never thought about teaching, we have opportunities that are out there. And also we have lots of classified positions. We have bus drivers, we have teacher assistants. I may have seen a secretary's position on there. Just several jobs that, if you've not thought about the school system, it's a great place to work. But all that goes into the preparation. Those things just don't happen. We had conversation from school nutrition about all the things that they're doing to, start ordering food and start having deliveries made so that, stock those freezers and get ready to go back. But, there was an excitement in the room about, being ready to go. And one of the neatest things I think we did yesterday was talk about how we can encourage new employees to be ready. It's their first time, for the first year teachers that are going to be coming in schools and classrooms, and what advice can we give them? So that was a great time of conversation and planning yesterday for our staff. And that goes down to principals. Principals come in Monday and Tuesday next week, and we have some extended training with them. We talk about successes from last year, challenges from last year, and then we give them a lot of the laws and the regulations that have been passed through the legislature and sometimes through the State Department. And we talk about, what things need to be changed at the building level and how we need to do that. And then, we've got some new programs. One that I guess impacts our community the most is we've had a program called School Messenger, which delivers the messages to people's homes, the telephone calls, the ones about...
We get that phone call.
Sure, yeah, the news or, whatever's going on. And a lot of people call it the snow call or whatever it happens to be. But we have a new program that's going to deliver it. It's going to do the same thing, but it's supposed to connect with our social media and do all those things together. So not only will it, I think it's going to save us some administrative time because it has the ability to, I think, call all of our parents. So we were talking about 10,000 households, can supposedly call them in less than 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
And so, it'll take care of that, but it also posts to social media, Twitter, Facebook, and all those things at the same time. So saves a lot of duplication. And, we save money by swapping products. And so that's one of the, stewardship pieces that I look for in our administration of where can we trim, where can we save money and get the same service. And in this case, I think we're getting a better service for a cheaper price.
Well, and as things get more efficient in that regard,
yes,
it gets more cost effective. And
right.
if you don't, I can remember when I was doing traffic from my home studio, they had what we call a loop line, and they had put this loop line in. And then after the technology, because I mean, I worked from this home studio for so many years, a couple of decades. And so toward the end of my tenure as as a traffic reporter, I remember them kind of coming in and looking at some of the lines that they had left and they had forgotten about that they'd been paying for all that time.
Right.
Because the technology had changed and we no longer needed that because it was through Wi-Fi or something. I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember them telling me, and it was probably, there's no telling how long they had been paying for obsolete technology that they just forgot to turn off.
Right.
And I was like, oops, it wasn't on me, but I hated it, But those are the kinds of things you've got to constantly be evaluating as we get more technologically efficient.
Right.
And just the things that can be done just with this thing blow my mind. And
that's going to be a piece of this new product too, because parents will have the ability, if we miss the call, sometimes people don't pick up on the call or whatever. There's going to be an app tied to it. And so you can see all of the messages that have been delivered, and, you can go back and, if you need to count snow days for yourself, you can go back and see when the messages were delivered, and lots of neat innovations. And we're getting some training on that next week, and going to see what that's going to look like.
Very
and
cool.
Roll that out.
I love it. I love the new technology. Some people think because I'm older that I'd be like pushing back on it. Not at all, because and that's one of the things I love about teaching, and you need to consider it, older folks, because it keeps you up to date on this stuff and it keeps you engaged. And I can't say enough about it. And my kids teach me stuff every day.
Right.
There'll be a bunch of freshmen that'll come in that'll be, some of them won't, they'll be completely new to audio video, but I guarantee you there'll be plenty that'll come in and it's like, well, I'm already doing that. And this is what I'm using to do what you're teaching me.
Right.
And there's all different ways to approach it. So it's always fun. It's always good. But that technology, that's big stuff.
Yeah.
So, well, very good. And I'm excited. I'm excited about it. And, we're ready to go. But now, as far as the school board meeting, was it a long one last night or?
A little bit longer than usual, a little more discussion than usual. And so as we get in, I'm going to talk about, we talked about changes a little bit, but there's several laws that the legislature just passed in the last session. And so it takes a while for those to get through I think they call it the rule-making process. They pass a law that says we should do this or shouldn't do something, and something new, whatever. And so that goes through the governmental process of, well, what does that look like for schools, and how do we implement what they passed? And so that spends a lot of time in committees and at the State Department of Education, and so it gets trickled down to us. And so we have to change our board policies in certain places to match what the law says. So last night we reviewed about 20 policies that have been changed. And I know sometimes we don't hear the big changes that come out of the legislature and things like that. But everything from, celebrations and recognitions that have to be done through the school year, those are going to be some things that we have to change. How you earn sick days and how you earn personal days is now going to be a little bit different. No takeaways, but just different. Going to have some access to some more personal days that you can use at your discretion rather than having to actually, think you've been limited in the number you've had. So you're going to get more, but you're going to get them in different semesters and different things like that. So how they're earned. And, they're just, like I said, about 20 of those policies that the board has to read twice. So they have 2 readings on all those. And so we had to get that reading in last night, and then the next reading will come early in August, and so that those can actually be implemented and make sure we know how those all fall into place.
Can I ask you something from a staff perspective? And because whenever you have true perfect attendance, does that mean you didn't take your personal days? Or did you know what I mean? Because I think to have true perfect attendance, you have to not miss a single day.
You have to be perfect as perfect. Okay. That's the way we define it. I got
a perfect attendance award. I was like, I don't remember. Did I do it? You know what I mean? Because I'm sitting here going, because I got that for last semester, and I was like, Okay, because I mean, I had had some, some joint replacement things
Right.
in the last year and a half prior, and so there was no way I could make it.
Right.
So when I got there this last semester, I was like, okay, but then in the back of my mind, I'm going, did I not miss anything? You know how you do.
Right.
But then I thought, well, did I take a personal day and that doesn't count? But maybe I didn't even take one.
Maybe not.
So okay. Well, I was just curious when you said that because I've always been trying to. Because I sit and think about it. I'm like, was I here every day? I guess I was. It just goes so fast. You kind of forget.
It's funny. It makes me wonder if you've been reading my notes over here because one of the things we talked about last night was the number of staff who had perfect attendance last year.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
When we talk about perfect, I believe the definition of that is in your seats, doing that. And so the best of my memory, we had 106 people during the first semester that received perfect attendance, and even more during second semester. Awesome. I think it was 125. And so those are all types of employees again. So it's from transportation, school nutrition, teachers, principals, the whole 9 yards. And so, when you have 120 out of 1,200, so about 10% of our staff had perfect attendance, and they received their recognitions and awards the last week of school or so. But we compiled those lists and shared that with the board last night. So, it's great to see that, and we're thankful for our substitute teachers, and we're thankful for all of our substitute workers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers. But there's nothing like being in your own classroom. You can prepare for a substitute and you can leave great notes and plans, and sometimes the sub can come in and do those, and sometimes they come in and struggle with what it is that you're doing. I know when I taught math, there's some things a substitute just can't teach and just can't do. So, but
thank goodness for teams.
Yes.
Teams is just if you teach, you know what we're talking about. But being able to leave lessons on teams is just awesome, But then you'll have your little kids that will go, well, my teams didn't work. It's like, yes, it did. Yes, it did. It did. So you have to leave hard copies and all this kind of stuff too. But that's one thing. And I was truly surprised when they told me I had perfect attendance last semester. I'm like, really? Okay. But it just zooms by. And of course, with us missing a couple of weeks last semester,
yes,
it really, we got slammed. I mean, it was so busy because, man, when we were in class, we had to be getting it done.
Yes.
And but nonetheless, I'm excited. I can tell I'm excited to get back. But I have enjoyed summer.
Well, and while you're talking about that, another celebration we had from last year is we have started receiving some preliminary data back, from our state testing and our TCAP tests and our end of course tests and things like that. And we have system data. The school level data is still broken down and embargoed to those principals, but system level data is looking good. Awesome. We're starting to see increases in almost every subject level at almost every grade level.
Awesome.
I think there were a couple of grade levels that in elementary and middle schools that made some progress, but maybe not much as we might have liked or expected. But in every other subject level, we're starting to see more gains. And I like graphs and mentioned being a math teacher and love data and stuff. So Mr. Lewis Walling does our data for us at central office. And so, we've started, making some of those graphs and some of those charts and things. And he's providing that information to us so that we'll know exactly where we need to target when we meet with principals next week, and what we can talk about needs to happen in their schools. We can break that down to grade levels and teachers, and certainly we want to break that down into students and see what students are doing, what they need to do.
Very good. I love it. Yeah. And we just, again, can you tell we're ready for the new school year? And I know the kids are going, stop it, but it's going to be a great one. And now, as far as you were talking about some of the things, the new laws, can you give us an idea of some things that are coming up? Or I know last year the big thing, we doubled down on cell phones, keeping them out of the hands of the kiddos, and just the struggle on that. I guess when I hear you talk about laws and stuff, I think about safety. those types of things. Is there anything beyond that? I know there was the gun safety presentation that has to be made.
That's
still something, and
yes,
that's new that we started last semester.
We have to do that. We do that in elementary, middle, and high schools,
Right.
and so it's grade or age appropriate. We're
Right.
not teaching people
No,
how
no,
to
no.
shoot and things. It's gun safety is what it is. And
Leaving them alone.
right, leave it alone.
Yeah.
And what do I do if I find one on the streets? What do I
Right.
do if if I'm at home and I open a drawer and my mom and dad's pistols,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we deal with those? So there are lots of things like that we have to do, and we have to be able to recognize. The laws, we kind of have our policy manual broken down into 3 or 4 sections, and so there are a couple of items about how the board organizes, and it allows some board members access to, if they're out of town or if they're sick or if we have inclement weather, it allows them to, you talked about Zoom and Teams, and so it would allow them to participate virtually through that. So that is for a board member. There are some districts that have not always posted their agenda early, and so we always try to get our agendas out on no later than Friday afternoons for a Monday meeting. But there's some things that have been codified that give those deadlines, and again, that hasn't applied to us because we've done that. There are places it talks about. I know there was a lot of discussion I heard, especially in the news when this was going through, but limiting the amount of time that students spend on their cell phones, even at school. And so, we had a good discussion about technology. I'm going to a presentation this morning on how to use technology in schools, but it needs to be intentional, and it needs to be age appropriate and grade appropriate. And again, there are some regulations on how much time, especially at the lower grades, that students can be on their phones, can be on their devices, and we want to make sure that we're intentional in when we use those devices and how we use those.
Right. You're talking about whenever we play Cahoots, those kinds of things.
Yes.
We have games that we'll put up to prepare for an exam or a test.
Right.
And it's little games that they'll use their devices for, and they can also do it on their computers.
Yes.
And so, trying to do that rather than say, well, you can get your phone out for
Right.
this.
For this.
Yeah.
There are some things, the grading system, there is a uniform grading scale across the state of Tennessee, so that, an A in Springfield means the same thing that an A in Memphis, and the same thing that an A in Johnson City means. And so they clarified some policies there. But it also, for our students that are earning high school credit while they're middle schoolers, it actually makes those grades a part of their high school transcript now.
Okay.
And so, we have a lot of students that take Algebra 1, for instance, in 8th grade. That's has traditionally not been a part of their high school transcript. Now the state law says that is part of their high school transcript.
Okay.
And so, small change there, but again, that's something that we need to teach our principals that. We need to teach our guidance counselors that. We need to make sure our computer systems are doing that. And, even as we talk to counselors, sometimes a student might take it, thinking they're doing something that's advanced, and they may not put their full effort into it, and they don't understand as a middle schooler, they may not understand high school GPAs.
Right.
And how that impacts
Yeah.
that. So that was one that came about. I talked about how sick leave is calculated for teaching staff, and so that's going to be a change. And personal leave, bereavement leave, we're kind of tightening up some of those policies about when you can take your personal leave, who bereavement leave is for, and so some staffing policies there.
This is something that Mayor Vogel had talked about, because I guess because we're all county employees, right? And he had said something about how that they had been working on changing the bereavement policy because people were using it 2 months after, saying,
Yeah.
well, I never used my bereavement. Is that going to change?
It won't for us.
Okay.
And again, depending upon the relationship with the person, but let's just say you had 4 bereavement days. We need to go through that grieving process just like anybody
Right.
else. So, that's usually day of preparation for funerals, getting ready and all that kind of stuff. But We allow some time, and I think our board policy says within a reasonable time, which we usually define as a year. So we know, in closing
Yeah.
estates and
Yeah.
going through all that kind of thing, there's business to do
That's just it.
associated
Yeah.
with that. So we allow that within a reasonable amount of time. So it's appropriate for us to use,
Okay.
not to take your full bereavement leave, outside of that, but for business purposes,
Right.
yes.
I
So
just know that's a conversation Mayor Vogel and I had specifically about that. So when you mentioned it, I wondered if there was a tie-in there.
yeah, so we're doing that. We've changed our attendance policy. We're going to add another step of interventions. We're trying to keep students out of the court process and away from how the court has to intervene, and so we're trying everything we can to provide additional supports to the family. So if a student gets a letter, they get certain interventions, and they have social workers sometimes visit their homes and talk with their parents. And so our additional step is we're going to have the parents come into the office and have a meeting with our attendance staff and talk about how important it is. I know we had a situation last week. It was so unfortunate. Teenagers come in to get their certificates so they can go get their driver's license.
Right.
And we had that student come in, and we told the parent, we can't sign this. This student has missed way too many days, and parent wasn't aware that I think the student had missed like 35 days.
Wow.
And so that rings and resonates with me in so many places. Of not being involved with all this information is on Power School, so a parent can see when their students out, when they're not. We send those calls to the homes and tell people their children are not at school, and comes out on the report card the number of days you've been absent and things like that. And so, it's just so important that our students are in attendance.
What is the policy for kids as far as being able to get their license? Like, is it staying within compliance of?
It's being compliant with the law, yeah.
Okay.
And so we say that you are in regular attendance, and again, I mean, you have perfect attendance. It's just
Right.
It's meeting those guidelines of the number of days per semester that you would
Okay.
would be in compliance. But
Okay.
we sign off on those so that they can do that. The other couple of policies, again, I guess are more disciplinary in nature. So sometimes a student might do something that gets them in trouble, and they might withdraw to homeschool, or they might withdraw to a private school, or they might, try to leave the system. And the new state law allows us that, if some people think you can leave and avoid your problems, but, when they come back, it still allows the school system to determine what punishment is appropriate for those. And, if it's something that somebody did 6 months ago and they've gone homeschool for a while and try to come back to school, it clarifies that they still must serve that punishment that they
Right.
would have tried to escape maybe.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
so that is a change that we need to make sure our students know. And then students, it clarifies if students and or other groups are trying to interfere with a school sanctioned event. So if I don't think we'll ever have this in Robertson County, but you never know. But again, that's one of the state laws. If someone or a group of students or something we're organizing and trying to disrupt school, disrupt a ball game, disrupt a program or something of that, it allows us to work with law enforcement to just stop those disruptions.
Okay, so if somebody was trying to do a protest or something like
Yes.
that, then it's
Yes.
like, no.
Yes.
This is school functions. And
Yes.
very good. And we're talking with Dr. Danny Weeks. He is our director of schools here in Robertson County. So if you're a newbie to the area, this is the gentleman that you need to speak with. And central office is always ready to take your calls. We call central office an awful lot, just with silly questions or to talk to Carla, to be honest with you, at CTE, because we're career and technical education teachers. But nonetheless, so much going on. And teachers, if you happen to have signed up for the technology PD, it's today. That's one thing Dr. Weeks was just talking about. He's going to have to slide out about a quarter till. But let's do a break here, and then we'll come back and reset and go through the rest of everything you need to cover and make sure we get you out of here in time for the... so my husband, if you're listening, did you sign up for that technology PD? I don't think you did, but you might have. Anyway... So we have all that going on, gearing up 15 days until we're back in school. A lot of Stuff the Bus and all that kind of stuff going on. I know United Way is involved with the big Stuff the Bus program this week, so we won't have Brian Pulley in here on Thursday. But if you want to be a part of that, reach out to United Way or reach out to the Family Resource Center here at the school and say, hey, I can help out with some kiddos that need school supplies, because that's a big thing right now. We want to talk for this moment about Valor Mortgage, your source for finding out exactly where you stand when it comes to purchasing your first home, purchasing your second home, trying to buy a different home, investing in your future. Maybe you want to do refinancing, whatever it might be, guys. I know you get so tempted. We all get spammed with all these offers. Did you know you have equity in your home? Did you know we can don't do it, because if you hit those numbers, you become a number and they are going to drive you crazy. Work with these local mortgage lenders, Valor Mortgage. Chris Armtrout and his experienced loan officers at Valor, they're going to work hard to find exactly the right product, the right mortgage solution for your life, your budget, and all your goals. They have access to VA loans, FHA loan options, conventional and jumbo financing, and they have all the tools to get you to the closing table. Some of the options, if you're somebody that qualifies for VA loans, some of the options on that blow my mind. One of my kids is a veteran, and some of the things he can do through the VA loan process is pretty cool. And you need to know all the ins and outs of that. Just sit down and have a meeting with Chris and find out what is possible. They're not just in the business of mortgages. They're in the business of making home ownership and all these things possible for everyone. First step is to give them a call and set up an appointment. They have an office in downtown, but they say get an appointment because they're out and about meeting with people all the time, but they would love to meet with you in the office as well. You can call 615-671-9178, 615-671-9178, or go to valor.mortgage, valor.mortgage, get pre-approved today, because when it matters most, you deserve a lender you can trust. Buy with confidence, buy with Valor. Valor Mortgage, NMLS, number 1210804, DBA of Encore Lending Group, NMLS 1249911, equal housing lender, subject to credit approval. Rates and terms subject to change without notice, not a commitment to lend, and let them know U-Turn sent you. Dr. Danny Weeks, they had the school board meeting last night, and what else do we need to cover?
I was going to say, one of the things we talked about, preparation on our side, but we also mentioned, it's time. You talked about getting school supplies together. And on our website, everybody can find by school, by grade level, what it is that they need for their students to bring to school. And so I know tax-free weekend is coming up. And so, don't wait until
this weekend.
I think it's the first weekend of August, I believe.
Okay,
so
first weekend of August. Okay.
So it's find out how many notebooks. Do we need notebooks or folders? Do we need pencils or pens? And those seem trivial to some people, but those are important to teachers because it helps them organize their classrooms. And again, you can get on the website, find out exactly what it is you need per grade level. Certain things are needed at elementary grades versus middle versus high school, and every school operates a little bit differently in what they need and what they expect. But take advantage of tax-free weekend, and folks that are struggling and need some support, take advantage of the groups that are collecting. I know I've been in a couple of businesses just this week and seen, some collection bins that they're taking school supplies and, everything from crayons to glue to notebooks and paper, it's that time to gather those. And you mentioned a couple of the back to school bashes that provide and help, families that are in need to find those things. But that's one part of it. But the other part of that is making sure your students are registered. And, some people have moved over the summer and they may not be attending the same school that they did last year. Some folks have moved to our area, and we're glad of that. I'm glad to have those people. But usually our pre-K students and our kindergarten students, it's time to make those registrations. There's a help session tomorrow at Bransford for pre-K families that need help. The applications of, it's probably the first time a lot of people have seen a school application and answering some of the questions. And we have translators that are going to be there. And so people can go in and get the help they need to fill out those papers. But, it's time to do that now so that we're ready for your students to come to school. And, the last thing we want is the first day of school, people having to sit in the office and wait on paperwork or getting shot records or getting grades from another school system transferred here and things like that. And so again, we're within that 2-week window. So go ahead and get online. If you need help, we have help at central office every day. We'll help you get registered and know how to do that. We even have computers set up there that people can come in and, we'll help you go through the registration process. It's not complicated, but for people that have not done it, it's something, they may need some support in. And so we can't put students in classrooms until they're registered. So, you don't want a student getting off the bus on the first day of school and here I am, I don't know where to go. Well, we've got to place them in classes.
And the bus registration.
Yes.
Because there's, they don't know to pick up your child if they're not registered for school.
Exactly.
And I can remember when Mark was working with transportation, and he would, that was part of his job,
right,
to help get these kids registered. And he says, you can't believe how many kids came in that didn't have a clue what they needed to do. And I know we have Go Night for Greenbrier coming up. It's not this week. Maybe next Thursday or the next. It's the Thursday before school starts. That Thursday evening, I think, is when we're doing it. But that's going to be coming up, and that's a good opportunity to get all those things. But you need all this done beforehand.
Right.
If you come to that, and I see them just scrambling around bus registration,
right.
And they're just pulling their hair out almost trying to get everybody scheduled. But it's because they haven't done their preliminary work.
Right.
You don't wait till the last minute.
We transport about 6,500 students a day. And so, to make sure the routes are calculated correctly and there's enough room for everybody on those buses. So we need to make sure that's taken care of. School nutrition, if someone needs some support in terms of free and reduced lunches, there are forms that we can fill out, and we can, again, there'll be people to help families fill those out. It's easy to do that now, or, again, you mentioned open houses, and every one of our schools is required to have an open house. And so find out when those are. That list is on our website as well. And you can find out, when and what time. And it's kind of a mix of afternoons, late afternoons, and early evenings. So even for those families that are working, you can get in and find out when open house is. And again, great time to meet your teacher, great time to meet your principal, pick up rules, handbooks, things like that. But to sign up for transportation and to sign up for nutrition, those are so important to us. And our nutrition program, for income eligibility, people can be eligible for both free breakfast and free lunches, or reduced price lunches and reduced price breakfast. So,
and that one thing about before we get off the subject, I was just looking for the confirmed date of our Go Night for Greenbrier. It is on the 30th. It's on July 30th. So is that up to the school's discretion? Which I was just texting with Miss Grimes to see when the date was, because she always knows. But July 30th is our Go Night. Is that up to each principal's discretion as to when they have that? Because I like that we do ours now before school starts. I really do like the way we structured it last year, because we even did some class pictures.
Exactly.
And it was so convenient. Yeah.
We give them a window. We give principals a window to say, you can have it between certain dates. And then we try not to overlap too many of those, because, we like to have our staff involved. And you mentioned transportation, for instance.
They have to be there.
They have to be at certain schools. So we try to spread those out as much as we possibly can. It's not, with 24 schools, you can't have everyone on a different night.
Right.
But, we've tried to limit that, and we tried to at least stagger them if a parent had a student at the middle school and at the high school or something, where they can hit both.
24 schools. That's a lot of schools. When you say that number, I'm like, really? We've got 24 schools? That's mind blowing. I mean, that's a lot. God bless you.
Keeps us busy.
Oh, God bless you. That's a lot. Talking with Dr. Danny Weeks, he's our director of schools, and man, we're busy, because it's that time. It's that time. I've got so many things I need to get done before school starts. It's all good. I'm excited about it. But it's so funny. Muriel Barnett, she's one of my best friends, and she taught math for 31 years. And she used to say, my first year was her last year. And so she was the summer before. She would say, you can enjoy the first month of summer, but then the minute the 4th of July hits, on the other side of that, that's when you got to get your stuff done.
Yeah.
And that was her parameter as a teacher. She would kind of read the books and kind of catch her breath in June, but then after the 4th of July, it's like But so
Right.
let's go, get
Right.
ready. And so that's kind of been my gauge since I've started teaching is I go, what would Muriel do? What would Muriel do? And so she's been my guide, But anyway, talking with Dr. Danny Weeks, what else do we need to cover before we wrap it up?
We mentioned some business items, and again, so we approved our memorandum of understanding we have with the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office provides our SROs in our schools, and so the sheriff and I sit down and we talk about the parameters of what's the school expectation and what is an SRO officer's expectations to do. So we reviewed that last night at board meeting, and that was approved, and then again, we talked about test data a little bit. We talked about our school budget. And so the budget is in the county commission's budget committee process right now. So our budget was approved by the county commission's budget committee, and so it will go on to full commission. And so that was kind of most of the activities. I'm always excited to talk about recognitions, and you mentioned one just a minute ago when you were talking about texting, but Greenbrier High School and the Renaissance program there was recognized as a Diamond School of Distinction.
A big deal.
And so Miss Samantha Grimes was there representing the Renaissance program, and she received the recognition for leading that initiative there at Greenbrier High. And,
awesome.
Dr. Osborne was there with her, and so we talked about what the Renaissance program does and how it engages students and families and faculty together. And so we provided that recognition. And then the last recognition, I'm really proud of this one. Not that I'm not proud of anyone, but the health inspectors come to our school cafeterias just like they come to a restaurant.
Right.
And so I was talking with a school cafeteria manager not long ago, and she said, the health inspector got down on their hands and knees and had their flashlight looking up under fryers and machines and things that are in the kitchens and everything. And I thought, I really wonder what might be under there.
Yeah.
But this year, for the first time, each of our cafeterias received a perfect score.
That's awesome.
In the fall and in the spring.
Outstanding.
So
That's
every one of our schools,
it
is. And so, there's so many regulations on, sometimes you can't, we can control our cleanliness and how deep we clean, but, sometimes, roof leaks and things like that, or, boxes or cans that have a dent or, banged up or something in transportation as they're delivered or something, all of those things go into that health score. And so for each one of our cafeterias twice this year to receive a perfect score on that, that just tells me our cafeteria managers are doing a wonderful job. And so we invited all of them last night, and some of them, we had about a half dozen from all of our schools there to receive that recognition and honor that they did. And so we're proud of them. And again, that's one of those jobs that's, we need cafeteria workers. It's great for flexible schedules. And so somebody that needs to pick up, we have part-time cafeteria workers that might just come in and do breakfast. We have some that come in and just do lunch. And then we have some modified schedules. Somebody just needed to maybe work a morning, come in and finish up breakfast and cook lunch and do a little serving or something like that. All kinds of jobs that are available for people that would like to work and need work. And again, we train people to do those things, and we can work with them around their schedules, and we can be very flexible there. So we're proud of those cafeteria managers. We're proud of our staff that's doing that. And then lastly, we talked about, we've been talking, I guess, for a couple of years about facility needs and looking for land and looking for where do we need to build schools? Is there a need, or do we need to rezone some? And so we've been through the rezoning process a little bit, and I know that's not always a popular topic for families, but it's something that has to be done. We only have a limited number of seats, and we only have a limited space. But the board is in the process of looking at a property and negotiating with the property owner, and so our advisors that help us with that were at the board meeting last night, and they've identified another property for us to look at. And so the board authorized that group to go negotiate a price for that piece of property and see if that's something that's acceptable to the board. And so we'll have to hear more about that in the future.
Okay.
We've not disclosed that location,
Sure,
so
sure.
it's
Of course.
it's out there because of negotiations. But that's one of the jobs of boards, is to not only help set guidelines that manage what we're doing today and what we're doing in 2 weeks when schools come back in session, but they need to be visionary, because we need to know what and how we can prepare for our future down the road. And so, looking at the lifespan of a school, many of our schools here are still in good shape, but there's some of them that have a lot of age on them. And so, the useful life of a building, and how does that work? And so, being visionary to think, where our county will grow and how it will grow, and to look at where they believe and think new schools need to be built, and how they build those and design those and things of that nature. So we had a good discussion on facilities last evening, and talked about where we could potentially add on to some buildings if needed. And what just the whole facility piece of it.
Okay. And so if anybody wants to hear more about that, you can go and watch the board meeting.
Right.
See all about that. So very good.
And it, I guess that's been a piece of most all of our board meetings, because that is, it's
a hot topic
concerning.
right
It
now.
is.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, that'll be something that'll come up when I talk with Mayor Vogel next week. It always comes up, because
Right.
that's something that with the county commissioner, the county commissioners, and of course the TCAT building, and all those things that they're wanting to do from the county perspective. And land is trying to find the land that will work for these properties.
Right.
So difficult to find right now in this area. But I'm glad to hear that y'all got some leads on some stuff. That's encouraging. But anything else before? Because I know you say you got to get out of here, and
I do just
about that time.
and I think that's a reminder of to our folks that needing to pick up professional development, needing to keep our skills sharp, needing to hear about those things. So that's where I'm headed right now.
Professional Development Day for Technology. One that I would, honestly, there's so many of these things. I would love to be there. I've got so many things I'm trying to wrap up, and spending time with my grandbaby boy is coming and spending the week with us this week. So that's going to be something big for us this week. So that's one of those things you just can't miss out on. He's almost 10. He'll be 10 at the end of this month. I can't believe it. Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
I want to thank you, because this gives, just an
pleasure.
insight to us, and it opens up we always want to be available and accessible to the community, and this is just one of those avenues that we can use. I'm excited to do that, and we want to be of help. 384-5588, and again, we want to remind people to go to the place that can help them most. If you've got a question about homework, calling my office doesn't usually help you that much. Call the teacher, call that school principal.
Office.
But if there are questions that we can help with, transportation, call the transportation department, and but we are getting ready. Our offices are open, and we're fully staffed back, ready to go for school, and they're back regular office hours. And so again, we want to be ready to help our community as best we can.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year. So I'm excited about it. So very good. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. So very good. All right.
So
thank you, Dr. Weeks. God bless. God bless. And if y'all need him, just reach out to him and let us know at schools if you need anything. And as he heads out, I'm going to go over a few schedule things. One of the things is I want to remind you what's happening at IA, because we've got the theater being used by this very, very cool play that I was able to go to this on Friday last week for the grand opening, the first night. And guys, this is excellent. This Making Hands play, it is historical, and it's Robertson County players, of course, are involved, community spirits involved in cooperation with Robertson County Historical Society and the Rural Arts Cooperative. And this is about our history, and it was so much more than what I was expecting. Number one, it was funny at times. The writer on this was written by Mark Edens, had so much wit to it, and there were some really, there was some heavy, of course, because history's heavy, but there was so much wit, and it was just really well written, and I really loved it. I loved the music because it was very bluesy, very bluegrass, and very bluesy, and the actors just fabulous. I absolutely loved it, and I can't say enough about it. This is it, our school up here, I Academy, the former Springfield High School, and you will have a chance to see this play Friday night at 7. Saturday night at 7, and then there's a 2 p.m. matinee. But the really cool thing is they're recording it for the schools so we can watch this and share it with our kiddos. And I think that's so cool because it will give them an insight into this county, a little bit more insight into this county, into the very cool history and how it began and how we were some of the early settlers in this area. You know, we're celebrating 250 years of America. And it's just very, very cool how early this area was settled. And we touch on that. They spend a lot of time talking about the period around the Civil War and just after. And I think that's crucial because, of course, so much that happened during that time period. But nonetheless, and then they even touch on the newcomers coming in. They have I don't want to give it away, but they talk about newcomers and coming in and their expectations and what they bring with them there at the end. And then in the program, they have it, I think, labeled as 1996, but I felt more about it being very similar to what we're seeing now. So, I mean, it was something that was very mirrored as to what we're seeing with so many new folks coming in. It was so well done. I really encourage you, get out and see that play this weekend, 7 p.m. on Friday, 7 p.m. on Saturday, and then 2 p.m. for the matinee on Sunday. Let's pause for a second, and then I've got some things Lee Marie wants me to share with you. Of course, she always does because she has all these great classes going on over at the Well in the Square. I love what they're doing over there and just all the really cool, innovative things that she's bringing and really cool classes. She always says that if you have a class that you want to go to and you don't want to go by yourself, call a friend and say, hey, this is something I really want to do. Will you go with me? And that is a way to get them involved in that. And I wish I had more time and could be in 5 places at one time because there's not a class that she has I don't think I wouldn't want to take at some point. Just that time management thing, trying to get to the different things. But she's got something for everybody, and if you're wanting to add something to your schedule, man, she can. And also too, she reminds me all the time. Maybe you need to adjust your schedule so you can get into these things. But she's got some great classes for you. And before I do my ad, I'll just go ahead and say this. While I was talking to Dr. Weeks, she put up that she wants to do, and I've lost it all of a sudden here. Let me see if I can pull it back up. But she's wanting to do a class for teachers. Do a free class for teachers. Let me see if I can find this real quick. She put it up, and I'll have to find it here in just a moment. It's left my screen, but she has a class she's wanting to do for teachers tomorrow. Lee Marie, if you could resend that to me because it's not showing on my screen now. But she has a class that she's wanting to offer for teachers, I think tomorrow. But I'll get the times on that and share that with you. Maybe she'll text me with that in just a moment. But before we run out of time, of course, we want to talk about our friends Barry and Rebecca Richards with Exit Prime Realty. If you have questions about real estate, we talked a lot about real estate yesterday with Bruce Jones, Bill Jones' son. He's in real estate out in the Franklin area. And we were talking about the importance of working with a realtor that's in the area you're wanting to move to. That's crucial. And Barry will tell you the same thing. When he is, talking about the real estate market and what's going on, he says, you need to work with somebody that understands the area that you're living in. The really cool thing about Barry and Rebecca, they have this diverse background. They have worked all over. They've done so many different things. They're originally from Kentucky. So Cross Plains is their home, and they've been here for over 30 years. So they specialize in Robertson County properties. But because of the fact that he worked in Nashville for so long, for 17 years, he was the media marketing vice president vice president of a media marketing company in Nashville. So he knows that area really well. Rebecca worked in radiology before she got into real estate, and they grew up in Kentucky. So they understand the area that we're in, but the surrounding areas and across the state line up in Kentucky, because they've got a diverse background. That media marketing experience that Barry has. You cannot compare that when it comes to having somebody on your team. If you're selling property that knows how to make sure that your pictures are out there and they're going to show your home in the absolute best light. There's going to be walkthrough tours, drone footage if you need that, videography, all the things. Anything you need to make sure your property's seen in the best light, they're going to make sure you have it. With Exit Prime Realty, they have, of course, Brandy and Samuel Hastings are on the Exit Prime team. If you want to join the team, you can reach out to them if you want to be a realtor. Barry was the one who told me about this program that's available for high school kids to get certified to be realtors in high school before they graduate. How cool is that? That is something that for a lot of people too, real estate, if you're working with that, it's got the flexibility, the time flexibility to work with different programs. I have so many kids that want to get involved with the arts because that's my thing. And audio and video, it's a tough industry, but you could do something on the side, maybe with real estate, and be able to help you do different things. I'm a very big, I'm firm believer in doing different things, diversity, and having different pools to pull from. And I have several friends that do real estate part-time. Why don't you check into it? And it might become your full-time gig like it did with Barry and Rebecca. Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Prime Realty. You can reach out to them at 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425 or 7424. And when you do, be sure and let them know that U-Turn sent you. Lee Marie, I found the text about the line class she's wanting to do for teachers. So she wants to offer teachers and school staff a free, absolute free beginner line dance class tomorrow. That would be a lot of fun. Wednesday, July 14th from 1 to 1:30 at Well in the Square inside Crossroads. So if you're interested in that, you can give her a call at 714-925-2689. That's 714-925-2689 for a 100% free line dance class, 1 to 1:30 at Well in the Square in the ballroom inside Crossroads Bookstore. And you can also go in there and get her flyer that has all of her really cool classes that she has to offer. I know she's going to have Champion Clogger coming in here tomorrow to talk to her about a class that they're doing at Well in the Square. It's Elizabeth Clark, or Elizabeth and Mary Beth Clark. They're going to be coming in. They are clogging champions, just top notch. They're going to come in tomorrow on Lee Marie's show and talk to you about all the things that they have going on. And they're wanting to get a clogging class going on Monday nights starting in August. And I think it's 5 Mondays in August from 6 to 7 p.m. 6 to 7 p.m. It's something that I have had on my bucket list for a long time. Don't think I'm going to be able to make this one. We're getting back to school in August, but so it's going to be too busy. I told Lee Marie, I'd love to see that in the winter. That would work with me, but nonetheless, it's a great opportunity if you've been wanting to learn to clog. Get out there and do it, and learn from a champion. And they're going to be meeting on Monday nights at Well in the Square, and that's going to be the 5 Mondays in August from 6 to 7 p.m. Get out and check that out and see if that's something that will work for you. And like I said, if you've been wanting to take it, talk to a friend and say, hey, this is something I want to do. Why don't you come and do this with me? And you might be surprised at how quickly you'll be able to pick it up and have a new skill. It's so funny. The Elizabeth and Mary Beth's grandmother, I guess it is, she had talked to me at Kilgore Station Bluegrass Festival, and I don't know how old this lady is, but she's definitely, a little bit older than me, and she clogs every day. That's how she stays in shape. And that's something that it's just a real cool skill and a whole lot of fun. And if that's something you want to check out, I really encourage you to do that. So that'll be coming up starting in August on Monday nights at Well in the Square. And they would love to put you on that class list or some of the class lists that they have going. And really, I think that's about it. Now, tomorrow we have a special visit with the folks from the Thresherman Show. Did you know it's Thresherman Show weekend? That means horse pulls and all the cool things. And if you want some true stone ground cornmeal, I have a recipe that calls for coarse stone ground cornmeal. I cannot find it. The only place I can get coarse ground cornmeal is at the Thresherman Show. And that's one of the things I do every year is I go and purchase it and I put it in my freezer so I have it throughout the year, and then I toss whatever I had and go and get new. But if you want true coarse ground cornmeal, only place I know to get it's at the Thresherman Show and so many other wonderful things. They'll have all kinds of wonderful things going on. And we'll get all the details tomorrow as they visit with us right here on 1100 WSGI. That's what we have planned for tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining us. God bless.